Oh my gosh. What's going on? Um, I was been researching this topic of this borderline personality disorder, uh, and narcissistic abuse because it's like stuff's everywhere these days. I heard him trying to like downplay like the severity of what it is to be narcissistically abused, or have to deal with somebody who's so like scattery and fiery and all these different flavors, dude, all the time. Like they're just fucking scrolling through them, dude. Everything is like a con job. There's always these kind of ambushes, loaded questions, kind of defensive tactics. There are these kind of like these stratagem to get your energy in a way. That's kind of like that's where this started from. It was I thought about Rogue, and basically there's this, it's called an energy vampire, and Rogue and an energy vampire are very similar, like and this is a common, it's called supply, narcissistic supply. Basically, the larger the audience, the more crazy it is, the more you hurt somebody and like sadistically like attack them, vulgarly, like in a way. It's like, you're kind of like you steal their thunder in a way. By them going down, you get this kind of sick pleasure for a minute, which makes you feel powerful, and there's their kind of like reward. But anyway, Rogue, it's like basically when she touches someone, she like she basically steals their energy and absorbs their kind of like spirit and their personality and their freaking powers, basically. And a lot of times, with these narcopaths, and it's like the Jezebel spirit is kind of like this spirit that likes to get close to people of power so they can kind of influence and control things and manipulate things unseen from afar. It's kind of like Machiavelli. He was kind of one of these types. But it's basically a con. They put on this act so they can get right all up in there, and that brings me to Jean Grey, which she was this assistant of Professor X, this telepath. And basically, there's one of the ways the narcopaths they get you is through your mind, through psychology. Basically, they play these kind of mind games to make you doubt yourself. They use this technique called gaslighting, and they'll play good cop and bad cop. In other words, they'll be like they'll get you to confide and get you to get intimate, and then they'll come into interrogation mode over top of it. And this is all coming from the same person, and they literally almost like change hats and their personality switches, kind of like the Milgram experiment. You give somebody a badge and a uniform, and all of a sudden they switch personalities, man, like a real actor. But it's like they use psychology, and another way they use the psychology is like, look, they guilt trip you, and then they also look, well, most of them are extremely rejected. So look, the things that they are most tormented and hurt by is that they use as weapons. And it's like, and that's another way that the Jean Grey, even in the comic, had a split personality, or switch, a flip, an alter called Dark Phoenix, which kills her husband. You know what I'm saying? And is this wild, promiscuous, kind of like feminist, dominant Lilith type of a woman. And you got that, the one, the protector of man, and then the destroyer, the eater, the devourer of man. They got the Black Widow in there. Because they're so rejected, they use rejection as a weapon. It's like kind of like projection and deflection. They almost mean the same thing. Deflection is kind of like when you got them on the run in a way, and like, look, you're hitting them with facts, right? And you're kind of like shutting them down. All of a sudden, they flip it around and deflect the guilt onto you, or they project kind of a false reality about you to people around you, to the audience. They use the audience like a mug. Like if it was Jean Grey, she'd go to Mr. Professor X and be like, "Oh, Professor X, I'm so worried about Wolverine. Like, look, I don't think he's doing very well. I think he's disturbed. Like, look, in attempts, it's kind of like dry snitching on somebody. Like, look, and it's control, manipulation, it's control. Witchcraft is control. It's like, I want to bend your reality. I want to control your perception. I want to covertly influence your mind to get it to sway the way that I need it to go for my thing to work. Anyway, I thought that was kind of crazy that they even had the split in there. And anyway, and with Rogue, there's this technique where sometimes it's like a person, like, say you're feeling cheery, you're high vibing, man, you're ready to get it done. Then all of a sudden you get to catch like this rogue wave of like someone comes at you with all this reality, and they just vent and they complain and they throw all this fear and worry onto you, and or they take out some frustration that some other relationship has put them on, and all of a sudden they start a little like thing with you. And like when it started, you were feeling great, and then by the time it's over, you feel depressed, you're like defeated, deflated, like totally, just like you feel like now you're walking through a swamp. And now this person who was all like scatterbrained and running around and all chicken with his head cut off, all of a sudden it looks all like they almost look high. Like, look, they got this kind of this euphoric ecstasy kind of a thing going on. Like, look, kind of a joy. Like, look, kind of like when you had a hard day's work and you look at your work and you kind of feel this rewarding feeling of accomplishment. Well, you can see that these people get triggered by your pain, your reaction, your supply. They get some kind of therapeutic drug effect, like where they feel better about themselves. They forget. It gives them more like feedback that yes, that their technique is working, that yes, they're in control, they're powerful, they're the best. But it's like at everyone else's expense. And this is kind of how these things work. Then you got Storm in here. This is the X-Men character, and she's this woman who can control the weather, basically. And it's like, what's funny about Rogue is I found this the cycle of abuse paper one time at a gas station by a garbage can, and it showed the 4 stages of the cycle of abuse. And it's like the first stage is this love bomb stage, where it's like they shower you with love and approval and attention and no rejection. They're very accepting. And then they switch into this mode called crazy making. And it's where they're kind of like doing stuff. They're giving you ammunition so you'll attack on them. But really, they've been saving all this ammunition against you. So they need you to basically use some of the stuff they gave you. Like, basically, they give you one knife to throw at them, and they took the whole kitchen and the kitchen sink, and they got it hidden just ever so, like, behind this picture of a happy family. Look, they got all these weapons there. Like, they just waited. And then once you take the bait and you're offended, now they get to do what they really wanted, which was called the explosive stage. And that's where they attack, they get violent, it's revenge, they get to get all their sadistic joy out of the rage, because rage is an intoxicating feeling. People don't realize this, that all these emotions have kind of drug effects on you. Like, excitement's kind of like being on a speed or a stimulant, but you talk about depressing or like peaceful topics, you get calm. But you talk about depressing stuff, you're going to get really drained, and you'll be like Eeyore, like, woe is me. And that's what a swap is. An energy vampire sets you up to get you into a kind of a mode, because look, once you expend all your energy, wasting it in an adrenal fueled like ego argument, well, as soon as the adrenaline wears off, you feel totally drained. So if that person can provoke you to get so emotionally drawn in that you're like fight or flight, and it's life or death, ego, pride on the line, look, it has a dramatic effect on your well-being, your state of mind. And that's why it's like, look, don't downplay how evil this it's like, and it's all a game. It's a con. Like the other character anyway, it's like a tornado, a whirlwind, a chaos monster. They like it, in the chaos and the confusion, they're more powerful. Look, and another thing about, especially when the woman, that this, there's an anti like care personality they can take where they intentionally wound their child so that it'll never leave. It'll be dependent on them, and this can be done in relationships too, and even non-sexual. But the next one I want to talk about is mystique, and this is a perfect analogy of a split personality or a borderline. It's like they got all these like masks and these different personality and modes, these self-defense mechanisms and programs and these identities they've created for themselves, kind of to navigate life, because it's, you know, somewhere they got hurt and traumatized and got this rejection in them. And it's like they use the things that have wounded them to control others. That's kind of how this thing works. It literally is like a vampire, where it's like you watched your dad do it to your mom, or your grandmother do it to your mother. You've seen these things happen before, or your uncle and your aunt's relationship. You stayed the night when you was a kid and you watched how people kind of predator one another, and like they use another person as a punching bag. You know what I'm saying? And they definitely get a rise out of that. But anyway, mystique. This person can change her appearance to appear to be anyone. And this is a common theme amongst the narcopaths, the borderlines, is that they really don't have no identity of their own. And they're always pretending to get your approval. So you won't reject them. But look, since it's not genuine, it's going to fail. You can't keep up an act forever. Like my buddy used to listen to the song. It goes, if you got your woman by crying, you're going to have to cry for the rest of your life. And if you got your woman by lying, you're going to have to lie to that girl for the rest of your life. See, you start living a double life, and you have to put on these different suits to fit in to the schematic, to the con. Because if people seen your true intentions, they probably wouldn't put up with it. And then if they really knew who you were, and then they wouldn't give you the big reaction and all the attention, the negative attention you get from it, it wouldn't be, you would just let them go, and you'd probably run away, because it's weird. It's a game. But anyway, it's like, and Mystique often tries to have sex with people she takes on the identity of other people that Wolverine has a thing for, and then tries to trick them into having the grown with them. And it's like, look, this is another thing that they routinely do, is they pretend, look, they also mimic you, and it's a way to stroke your ego, so they can, like, look, they pump you up and get you filled up on your pride, and they save all this ammunition so they can attack, and then they can blast you and really bring you down low after they pushed you up and pumped you up to be so high. You know what I'm saying? And this was all done intentionally, because now they'll be like, well, I'll take you back, and you're lucky. No one would take no one like you after you. Look, everyone knows that you're really like this, and if it wasn't for me, you wouldn't. Look, this is how they wound you, and then kind of pretend like they're the cure, but it's all a con job out of fear and control freak, because they really don't have much power at all. You know what I'm saying? It's like all these things are kind of like masks they use to infiltrate you. And then, like with the mind gamer, they use intimate knowledge against you. Like, you're just like your mother used to say about you, and you're never gonna amount to be nothing. Like, if you've recorded to them your word curses that have been spoken over you your whole life, they will use them when it's convenient for them to make the point, or to twist it so that it gets what they wanted out of you. But anyway, it's kind of like, it's like, the energy vampire makes you feel drained or disturbed, and your peace is stolen. And you can also notice they'll get a sick pleasure out of it. When you go down, they come up. You just got vamped and swapped. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, just like a mind game, when you feel like someone guilt tripped you, or if they're putting off something they do onto you, in a way, they kind of make you own their negative side, and then try to make you pay for it. Like, they put it on you and try to make you convince you that it was you, but it's not. It's just a game they're playing. But anyway, yeah.